Hi guys, Stephen here, back with another video. This video is titled Nicola Sturgeon Failed Young Scottish People. I really should title it just Nicola Sturgeon Failed the Scottish People. Um, but I came across this on Twitter earlier. Generation of children failed by Sturgeon. At Scots Tories tweeted, "This is a damning verdict of the Scotland's Children's Commissioner. From her broken promise to eliminate the attainment gap in education to failing school standards, Nicola Sturgeon failed children across Scotland. Without a rethink on education, Humza Yousaf will do the same." And I can't imagine there's going to be much of a rethink with Humza useless personally. But I mean, it's no big surprise. But this is the big headline on the front page of the Scottish Daily Mail today. Children's Commissioner delivers damning verdict on First Minister's legacy. I mean, it's not just that with Sturgeon though. With the what she's done to fail young Scottish kids and really messing up their their futures. A lot of it. I mean, the one thing for me that's probably destroyed her legacy. I mean, it had to be the whole thing with the convicted rapist Isla Bryson. That was the nail in the coffin with Sturgeon. Yes, obviously there's the other stuff there with the missing funds. But I think that was the one thing that's I mean, ultimately that's what led her to resign. It was that, and that is what I mean, that she just lost at that point. She lost all credibility with even the most ardent SNP supporters. She really did. I was just looking at here, so the Daily Record. Sturgeon, buddy, making an appearance on Loose. She made an appearance on Loose Women. This was maybe a couple months back, but she has no regrets over the handling of trans rapist Isla Bryson. I mean, good grief, So Sturgeon, she thought it was a proud moment, when it was the gender reform bill that as soon as you're 16, you can. It's very easy to just say, oh, if I'm a man, I could say I'm a woman. And yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But this is obviously this radical transgender movement that's been going on. And just to be clear, I don't have a problem if you're transgender, homosexual, bisexual, whatever. I don't care. It's the radical agenda that I've got a problem with. There's obviously the stuff here with the missing funds. It was £600,000, and then this is something that you've got Sturgeon's husband. Sturgeon's husband was involved in the party, and this is one thing. Alex Salmond had warned Sturgeon about her centralisation of power, being that she's the party lead. She was the party leader, and he was the chief executive, and saying that would never work in any type of business. I mean, there's. I mean, to be fair, there's probably one example where I believe it has worked, and I know because, I know with WWE, I'm a big wrestling fan, and that did work for a long time when Vince McMahon was the chairman, the owner, and his wife Linda was the CEO. So there's very rare cases when it can work, but it obviously did not work here with the Scottish National Party, and from here, just looking at the article on the Scotsman, says, there was the whole thing with the motor home, wasn't it? So the last accounts they had filed for the party show an 80,632 tangible asset of motor vehicles. And yeah, so this was the whole thing, wasn't it? Was it her mother-in-law that they seized a motorhome from after with the arrests? I mean, it's just so fishy. I mean, to be clear though, they deny all the allegations. No charges have been brought against anyone yet. But it just doesn't look good at all, though, doesn't it? It just doesn't look good at all for the SNP. But I mean, the thing with Sturgeon, I mean, this is the thing though with young children, she has failed the generation of children, but she's failed people in general. I mean, Sturgeon, with all the energy that Sturgeon puts into, her hatred, she put into her hatred for the Tories. So there was always a blame game there with the Tories, which the left always will do. And just, I mean, this is the thing with the left, though, that the left, with their ideology and their philosophy, they don't want people to believe that, hey, actually, you have certain responsibilities in life. We all have our responsibilities. With rights come responsibilities. But obviously, the SNPs, the Labours, Lib Dems, Greens, all those parties would like to think, actually, the responsibility is with us. You've got to hand over your responsibilities to us. And, it just comes down to philosophy, guys, at the end of the day. It's not, as much as when you're living in Scotland that they want to vilify Tories, that they just, the I'm alright Jack mentality, that we only care about money and ourselves. It's such like a fucking misguided view on what it means to be a conservative that it really it annoys me that you're just portrayed as like a bad person if you're conservative, and then it's just that thing of people, fuck the Tories, anyone but Tories. It's just such an easy fucking thing to do, It's just an easy mentality to have. And trust me, people, more leftists I've met in my time have that I'm alright Jack mentality. If someone they know they don't like who's down, trust me, they'll probably kick them. And why? Because they're alright Jack. So trust me, there's just so much hypocrisy there with the left. Talking about the attainment gap in education, failing school standards. Absolutely. I would say that I was one of the fortunate people in my year at school growing up. In my school, went to a normal comprehensive school here in Aberdeen, Scotland. Not many of us ended up in our year going to university. I might have been, how many would it have been overall? Maybe 20% of us or so went, about 20% maybe went to university. I was fortunate enough to go to university. But our school overall, it wasn't a good school, to be honest with you. We're talking probably one of the, in terms of grades and stuff, it was probably like the third worst in our city. It wasn't great. And fortunate enough to have a very good headmaster from first year to about third year. But apart from that, though, it wasn't great. But overall, this is the thing. The standards are pretty poor here. And obviously there was the whole thing with the COVID, where Corona affected Scottish exam results, and they showed that there's a clear anti-working class bias, So I thought it was about to be the SNP's the party for everybody. So why did there end up being this? There was just this. It ended up, things just turned out very bad. There was a clear bias there that people were in poorer deprived areas when it was, everybody, you couldn't come in and do your exam like normal, and then the grades, they ended up getting a lesser grade. But at that time, though, Sturgeon thought that we needed to have a lockdown, but they found out, and later on, it was... No, the lockdowns, it didn't make a difference to how many cases people got, what. It didn't make a difference. But this was obviously the game that, she was playing with Johnson, that had to be a little bit more stricter here than it was, down south. But overall, though, she really did, she really did destroy our legacy, and, and the backlash was probably not something she expected with the whole Isla Bryson thing, but there was a backlash, and that lets you know when you speak out, when you speak up, you stand up for what's right. When you got the truth on your side, then that's it. That's all you need, really, is the truth. You don't have to worry about anything else. Things will eventually fall into place, and Yeah. How all of a sudden is it such a controversial thing when you're outspoken about thinking that it's not right that a guy who was biologically a male shouldn't be in a woman's prison? How is that a controversial opinion? And now it's almost like sometimes you've got to be careful of what you say what you say on here, what you say on social media, what people would say if they're commenting on these things on Facebook. You've got to be careful. I mean, it's crazy, but this country, I believe, is probably going to go to hell in a handbasket. I might have to leave. I don't see things improving with Mr. Youssef, and this whole thing with the the missing funds. I'm looking at the article here. Fraud cops looking into money left to the S&P in wills now. Looking people's wills now. Christ. There's 400k still missing from the Indie Ref 2 fund. So this is the whole thing about the fucking independence. They're still trying to beat that dead horse. At the end of the day, people voted. They didn't want it. It's like, get over it, And so a police source said large sums left to the party in wills are being looked at as part of the investigation. Huge amounts have been left over the years, including donations declared to the EC in recent months. In terms of independence fund money, which has been reported as missing, there's around 400,000 which officers are trying to account for. It's a complex investigation run by specialist officers with training in financial fraud. So doesn't look good at all. And then was it the whole thing like they had no auditors? Like such a huge party like the S&P, they had no auditors. They've had no auditors since last year. So they must have seen something that shit was about to hit the fan eventually, and then there's the other stuff there about the membership numbers. That it took a while for it to come out. That S&P reported a membership of 125,534 in December 2008, and according to the data published by the Electoral Commission, this dropped to around 104,000 by the end of December 2021. So and it took a while for them to come out about what their numbers are. So now, this is just the thing now. The Scottish people, for the most part now, have just they've lost trust in the SNP. And, it's like, I'm sure people have lost trust down south in England in the Tory party. I can't say, I blame them. But again, they just need to this is how they've screwed themselves over. It's all about, with the whole, missing funds, it has here a Scotsman. The probe was triggered by at least 19 complaints regarding to the ring-fence referendum fund. Amid allegations the fund has been misappropriated. The fund was raised in 2017-2019 in the hopes of fighting an independence referendum, and it never came to fruition. And it's like, gee Christ, it happened in 2014. You didn't get it. You didn't get independence. Like, get over it. And then 2 years later, there was Brexit. I know that pissed you off, but get over it. Like, good grief. And for Sturgeon, I mean, really for her, I guess her husband, all the other S&P people, I hope that this is not just blatant fraud. There's just some type of, mistakes being made there but with the money. But it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And let's just, if she has, her and her buddy husband, taking these funds that was for our bloody precious independence referendum, and then it was going on bloody motorhomes and fancy bloody, their fancy bloody second holiday home. Was it? They have a holiday home in Portugal or whatever. But at the end of the day, if she is guilty, then I would say she needs to you need to put her Marxist-loving, trans-male rapist protecting, independence-moaning arse in the jail. Lock her up. Like they said with when it was Hillary Clinton, Trump with Clinton, lock her up, because she's just our country's gone to shit now, and she's a large part of it. Yeah, I know Salmon wasn't great; he wasn't perfect either, but I think she actually looks. She makes Alex Salmon look fairly competent, but and I know he's got a lot of sketchy things with allegations with him, but I mean, in terms of being a leader, I mean, he comes off better than Sturgeon overall, in my opinion. But yeah. But anyway, those are my thoughts, guys. So feel free to like, feel free to subscribe. I'll be back with some more content. It could be stuff to do with politics, show business, music, you name it. I'll be back. I'm going to be quite active with more videos up on my channel. But yeah, thanks, guys. See ya.